Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're diving into a topic that hits at the heart of how movies are made, the script writing process. More specifically, how Hollywood used to write movies versus how they do it now. Back in the day, a script had to be rock solid before a single frame was shot. You had rewrites, punch-ups, test reads, everything meticulously planned. Fast forward to today, and some of the biggest blockbusters are being greenlit before a script even exists. It's wild. So today, we're going to break this down. How things worked before, how they work now, and what that means for the quality of movies we're watching. Let's get into it. Let's start with how things used to be done, the traditional Hollywood method. In the studio system era, and even well into the 70s, 80s, and 90s, a movie didn't get greenlit unless the script was done. And not just done, but polished, revised, punched up, and battle tested. Studios invested in stories. Writers were given time. Multiple drafts went through table reads, feedback sessions, and rewrites. Script doctors like Carrie Fisher and Quentin Tarantino were brought in to fix dialogue or tighten scenes. Take Back to the Future. It took Robert Zemeckis and Bob Gale 4 years to develop that script. It was rejected over 40 times, but by the time cameras rolled, it was airtight. Every scene had purpose, the setup, the payoffs, everything clicked. Or look at Die Hard. Jeb Stewart and Stephen E. D'Souza reworked the script multiple times, crafting character arcs, tension beats, and that perfectly structured 3-act flow.
Got invited to the Christmas party by mistake. Who knew?
The idea was simple. Get the story right. Before you start casting, before you hire a director, before a single dollar is spent in production. Get the story right. But somewhere around the 2000s, things started to change. The industry began to prioritize franchises, release dates, and IP over actual story. The studios wanted to lock in tentpole slots years in advance. You had Comic-Con panels for films that hadn't even written a single page. Take The Rise of Skywalker, a perfect example of a film greenlit before the script was locked. Director Colin Trevorrow was brought on, then replaced. J.J. Abrams stepped in with only months before shooting began. The result? A messy story full of retcons and plot holes. Or how about Jurassic World Dominion? According to interviews, the script was evolving mid-shoot. Scenes were literally rewritten on the day. And it's not just blockbusters. Even mid-budget films are getting rushed. Writers are hired after concept art or sizzle reels are shown to investors. It's like building a house by pouring the foundation before you even know how many rooms it's going to have. It can work, but with this much money on the line, it's definitely a risk. So why the change? One word: speed. Studios wanted to keep up with the audience demand. Marvel's success with the MCU showed that you could announce 5 years worth of films and people would show up. Suddenly, it was less about the script and more about the brand. Also, CGI-driven filmmaking made it easier to fix things in post. You could shoot a scene and just figure it out later. The rise of streaming also played a major role. Content became king. Writing rooms were cranking out scripts faster than ever just to feed the content machine. But let's be fair. Both methods have their ups and downs. Let's talk about the old school pros. You had better storytelling, more cohesive character arcs, and no major plot holes. Some of the old school cons. You had long development cycles, higher costs up front, and ultimately less flexibility once production began. On the flip side, modern pros. You have faster production, more room for improvisation, and it's way easier to capitalize on current trends. Some of the modern cons: scripts that often feel rushed, inconsistent tones, and stories that change mid-shoot or mid-edit. Let's line up some real comparisons and see what happens when you plan every scene versus when you're making it up on the fly.
You strike me as a remorseless man, Mr. Dufresne. I hereby order you to serve 2 life sentences back to back.
Adapted from a Stephen King novella, Frank Darabont spent years polishing the script. Every moment builds character or tension, from Red's narration to Andy's quiet defiance. It's a masterclass in setup and emotional payoff. Ted Talley's script was crafted with surgical precision. Every line from Lecter is loaded, and Clarice's arc is crystal clear. It won 5 Oscars, and it all started with a script that knew exactly what it wanted to say.
DeVito. L.A. Confidential.
Brian Helgeland and Curtis Hanson wrestled with adapting James Ellroy's dense novel, and the result was a screenplay that weaved together multiple storylines without losing clarity. Complex, yet focused, and it never talks down to the audience. This one felt like a placeholder for a story they hadn't fully figured out. Major character motivations changed between films, and large swaths of plot were vague or ignored. You could feel the script shifting under your feet.
You're not swiveling properly.
I'm swiveling. Are you swiveling yet?
I don't believe you are.
See you playing well with others again. Just like a bat. I dig it.
This is the poster child for a disjointed modern blockbuster. Zack Snyder started with one vision, then Joss Whedon rewrote and reshot major scenes. The result was tonally jarring, narratively broken, and visually inconsistent. A film literally made from 2 clashing scripts.
Barry, what are you doing? Our kids are going to want to see this.
Announced in 2014, 5 writers and multiple directors later, the final product still felt like a rough draft. Characters popped in and out, and the time travel rules contradicted themselves, and emotional beats landed with a thud. It's what happens when the release date matters more than the story. You can really see the difference, right? The classics were built on a foundation of rock-solid scripts. Today, some of the movies feel like they're being constructed mid-air, and that's why sometimes they crash. So is the old way better, or is the new way just how things have to be now? Maybe there's a middle ground. Studios could still plan tentpoles years in advance without skipping the script process. Take your time. Let the writers develop an airtight script before moving on. Give us more movies like Top Gun Maverick, a film that spent years refining its script, working out every beat, and it truly paid off. Or look at Dune Part 1. Denis Villeneuve waited until the script was just right before rolling a single frame. It's proof that even in this fast-paced system, great storytelling still matters. So what do you think? Do you prefer the old school method where scripts were airtight before day one? Or are you okay with a little bit of chaos if the end product still entertains? Drop a comment below so I can hear what you think. Hit that like button, and make sure you subscribe for more movie-related deep dives. I'm Adam, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.